Our goal on this show is pretty clear and simple too. Give you the news, context and analysis. We try not to become the news ourselves, but sometimes we just can't help it. Today is one of those days. The Economist has published an article on Indian media's coverage of diplomacy, and it mentions me by name. It also talks about our network. But unlike The Economist, we won't get personal. We'll stick to facts and arguments. Now, credit where it's due, the article gets one thing right, just one. It says Indians and the Indian media have become more interested in foreign affairs. Whether it's the war in Ukraine or the coup in Niger or the mass shootings in America, we're more interested. And you would think that's a good thing. But The Economist disagrees. Listen to what they've said. The new media focus on India's role in the world tends to be hyper-partisan, nationalistic, and often stunningly ill-informed. Do you know what's stunning? The level of Western arrogance on display here. Here's what The Economist is basically saying. Indian media is covering foreign affairs, but they don't know anything about it. It's an insult wrapped up as analysis. Reminds me of British colonial officers. You may remember their argument from the textbooks. It's not that you don't deserve self-rule, it's that you're not capable of it. This Economist article is the 21st century update on that. You cover foreign policy, but you don't know it. That's what they're saying. So who does? Certainly not The Economist. This is the same agency that defended the invasion of Iraq. Look at their headline, The Case for War. In 2002, The Economist said its readers have two options. Let me quote, to give up and give in, or to remove Saddam Hussein before he gets his bomb. Painful as it is, our vote is for war. Now, I agree that Indian media has several problems. But guess what we have never done? Voted for war. Is this the stunning expert analysis that India lacks? Around 200,000 civilians died after the US invasion of Iraq. 0 weapons of mass destruction were found. Was that not ill-informed? And it wasn't just The Economist. All the so-called leading papers got it wrong, like the New York Times and the Washington Post. They supported the war in Iraq. I have another example for you. China. In 1999, China joined the World Trade Organization. The Economist was thrilled. Listen to what they said. WTO membership requires a strengthened rule of law so an emboldened judiciary might one day be able to challenge party decisions. I wish I had one of those reality show buzzers, because The Economist could not have been more wrong. No court has been able to challenge the Communist Party in China. But there's more. China's membership of the WTO has the potential to change the dynamics of a political system that looks out of date. Absolutely. The dynamic has changed. Just one problem though. It has changed for the worse. China is now ruled by its most authoritarian leader since Mao Zedong. I could go on, but you get the point. The Economist has got plenty wrong. It was wrong about Google. It was wrong about digital music. It was wrong about the 2008 financial crisis. It was also wrong about the Eurozone crisis. Yet they call the Indian media stunningly ill-informed. I must say, full marks for audacity. It takes a special skill to be wrong so many times and still criticize others. The Economist should probably publish an article with all their mistakes. And spoiler alert, they have. It's called To Err is Human. Let's come back to the article though, the one they've published now. Towards the end, The Economist has some advice for the government of India. Rein in your media, that's what they're saying. If not, it will affect India's relations with the West. So much for the freedom of press. This article sort of disproves the point it makes. Yes, we have defended India's position on Ukraine, also on Pakistan and on China, but it's not because of partisanship. It's because the policy makes sense. Defending India is not the same as defending a party or a government. If only The Economist had done some research. India's opposition and government are on the same page when it comes to Ukraine. They back the same policy. And let's be clear, this is not about hyper-nationalism or partisanship or anything else. It's about arrogance. Western media can criticize India all they want to. When they do it, it's freedom of press. But when Indian media criticizes the West, it is ill-informed. If this isn't arrogance, what is? The Economist says, we taunted Europe. by calling them weak and dependent on America. Should we apologize for quoting the president of France? Because Emmanuel Macron said Europe should not become America's vassal. And what does vassal mean? A subordinate to someone else. The thing is, India doesn't need lectures on diplomacy from The Economist. We have 3rd century manuscripts on military strategy and foreign affairs. 3rd century. People in the US were figuring out agriculture back then. So the interest may be new, but our worldview and ideas are not. Now, the war is in Ukraine, but the whole world is feeling the impact, especially at the dinner table. Food prices are rising once again. Even major food producers are considering drastic options, like India. Reports say New Delhi is thinking about importing wheat. And this is very significant. India has been self-sufficient in food grains, meaning we produce enough for our consumption and then some. We never had to import. But now the government is spooked. Wheat prices have gone up by almost 10% in the last 2 months in India. Inflation is at a 15-month high. So what is the solution? Maybe imports. Reports say the plan is to buy discounted wheat from Russia. And just to be clear, there is no shortage in India yet. We are not running out of wheat, so do not rush to your grocery shop. The idea of this import is to bring down prices. It's called a supply-side measure. If you increase the supply, the prices will come down. That is the idea. These reports first emerged in the first week of August. They said 2 things. One, that India should slash or abolish import duty on wheat. Right now, the duty is 40%. The report said it could be reduced or removed. That was one point. The second was this, that India could import wheat. Not private traders, but the government would import wheat. The centre had dismissed this report from the first week of August. They said there was no such proposal in the pipeline. But weeks later, the reports have re-emerged, and this time with more details. We will focus on 3 aspects of it. Number 1, how much are we buying and at what rates? Number 2, how will we pay for it? And number 3, how significant is this? The proposal is to buy around 8 to 9 million tons of wheat. Technically, we don't need that much to stabilize prices. We need around 3 to 4 million tons to do that. But the government reportedly wants a deep price cut, something that is noticeable. Now to discounts. Traders say around $25 to $40 per ton is possible. Now that discount is important. The imported wheat must be cheaper than the local wheat, or at least at the same price. If not, you will end up driving prices up further. How will India pay for these shipments? With dollars. You see, food is exempt from Western sanctions. You can buy grains, cooking oils and fertilizers without any blowback. India, in fact, already buys sunflower oil from Russia. We pay for it in dollars. So officials say the same strategy will be used for wheat. Now, full disclosure, the government has not officially confirmed any of this. It is based on information reportedly given by Indian government sources. Having said that, this conversation is not new. It began right after Russia invaded Ukraine. Both countries made up around 25% of global wheat supply, Russia and Ukraine, 25% of the global supply. So when the war began, prices shot up across the world. India responded by banning wheat exports. That was strike 1. Strike 2 was the weather. India's wheat output is around 10% less than what was projected. As a result, our stocks are down. India has around 28 million tons of wheat in government warehouses. It may sound like a lot, but it's 20% less than the 10-year average. So prices are up and stocks are down. It tells you why India is considering wheat imports. Now to the final question. How significant is this? In one word, very. India rarely imports wheat from other countries. Private traders import some of the fancy varieties, but the government does not. The last big purchase was in the year 2017. India's private traders bought around 5 million tons of wheat. But this deal with Russia is very different from that. It's not just private traders, it's also the government, and chances are there will be backlash. You see, food security is a political issue in India. And there is some bad history here. In the 1950s and 60s, India was not self-sufficient. We had to import food from outside. I'll tell you an anecdote from 1965. India was at war with Pakistan. Then Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri went on All India Radio. He asked every Indian to sacrifice 1 meal per week. Why? Because that's how the food situation was. We've come a long way since then. Thanks to the Green Revolution, India has become self-sufficient. We could feed ourselves. And in the last couple of years, we expanded on that dream. India talked about feeding the rest of the world too, but from the looks of it, we haven't reached that stage yet, at least not yet. Dozens of countries do import food grains every year, so it's not unheard of, but the difference is our population. India has close to 1.4 billion people, so food security is also a strategic concern for us. In this changing geopolitical world, you can't depend on anyone for food, not even partners like Russia. And speaking of unreliable partners, Pakistan's cricket board is one of them. On the 14th of August, they posted a video on social media. It was a tribute to Pakistani cricket, the great players, the great moments, all of it. But guess who was missing from that video? Imran Khan. If you follow cricket, you know why this is controversial. Pakistan has won just one ODI World Cup, only once in their history. Back in 1992 in Australia, Imran Khan captained the side, he top scored in the final, he picked up 1 wicket. It's the greatest moment in Pakistan's cricketing history ever. Every Pakistani has seen these pictures. Imran Khan carrying the trophy above his shoulders, but none of that made it to the clip. Imagine the BCCI making a video on Indian cricket with no Kapil Dev and MS Dhoni in it. Can you imagine the backlash? That's exactly what happened in Pakistan too. Some of his teammates led the way, like Wasim Akram. This is what he posted on social media. Political differences apart, Imran Khan is an icon of world cricket and developed Pakistan into a strong unit. PCB should delete the video and apologize. This is what Wasim Akram said. I must say this, Imran Khan's cricketing friends are better than his political friends. At least they're not jumping ship. As for the cricket board, they did listen to Wasim Akram. They posted an updated video. This one did feature Imran Khan, but guess what? Wasim Akram was dropped. It's equal parts funny and tragic. In the end, the PCB got their act right. Their third video featured both Imran Khan and Wasim Akram. But instead of an apology, they gave an excuse, a laughable excuse. I'll quote from what they've said. Due to its length, the old video was abridged and some important clips were missing. This has been rectified in the complete version of the video. How about that? As if none of us have ever used Twitter. It's clear why Imran Khan was missing from the video, the first video, because the establishment is after him. Not editing glitches, not duration issues, just plain old politics. Now, we don't know who made this decision. Did the army ask the cricket board to remove Imran Khan, or was it a voluntary call? Either way, it sums up politics in Pakistan. Once the army abandons you, nothing matters. You may have won a World Cup. You may have been Prime Minister. You may even have walked on the moon. None of it will save you. It's the worst kind of politics. Imran Khan has already been jailed on corruption charges. He's been sentenced to 3 years in prison. His political party has been destroyed from the inside. Dozens of his top leaders have defected. For most people, that would be enough, but not in Pakistan. The army has almost nullified Imran Khan, the politician. Now it wants to erase Imran Khan, the cricketer. This time, the fans stood up for him. But will the voters do the same? That is the big question. Pakistan's elections were supposed to be held by November this year, but that's not happening anymore. The dates have been pushed back. Their election commissioner says the constituencies have to be redrawn. There's a new census. So they will redraw constituencies. How long will that take? At least 4 months. The poll body is hoping that the process will be done by the 14th of December. Only then will elections be announced. And the army will be hoping to tie up all the loose ends by then, the loose ends being Imran Khan. Imagine the votes are counted and Imran Khan's party wins. It would embarrass the Pakistan army. So they have 2 options left. One is to rig the voting on a massive scale, or 2, wait out the storm. Keep breaking up Imran Khan's party and cadre. The first option has a downside, the rigging. You see, Western countries send poll monitors to Pakistan. They've been doing so since 2008. So widespread rigging could backfire. Is that why the army is playing the long game? Well, it's certainly possible. This is all uncharted territory for them. Usually, when the army deposes leaders, they disappear. That's what happened in 2018. In the elections in 2018, Nawaz Sharif was disqualified, so Imran Khan's victory was guaranteed. But this time, there is no such guarantee. Imran Khan's appeal is still pending at the higher courts. Plus, his support base could go either way. He is a popular leader. As the PCB episode showed, Imran Khan, the cricketer, still has support. Twitter was flooded with criticism of the Pakistan Cricket Board, but will it be enough for him to pull off another 1992? Well, that final in Melbourne was a fair game. This one against the army will not be. It's been 3 weeks since a coup unfolded in Niger. Its president was toppled and arrested. The army took over, the people cheered them on, and now the junta is ruling the nation. It all happened so quickly that West Africa was left aghast. But now they want to swoop in to save the day, aka reverse the coup. On Thursday, West African army chiefs met in Ghana. They discussed a possible military intervention in Niger. They say they prefer diplomacy, but if all else fails, they're ready to intervene militarily.
Let no one be in doubt that if everything else fails, the valiant forces of West Africa, both the military and the civilian components, are ready to answer to the call of duty. By all means available, constitutional order will be restored in the country. And this meeting today bears testimony to that.
Basically, the West African bloc is ready for war. It is also known as ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The ECOWAS has sent troops in multiple nations before, so this will not be their first time. But this time, they are a little wary. There are a few reasons for that. The first is mobilizing the force. It has been done in the past, but there is no clear parameter yet. Gathering an army depends on the will of the members. The ECOWAS is 15 members. 3 of them have been suspended. The remaining 12 are willing to send troops. But they face some opposition at home, which brings us to the second problem, the second challenge, the number of troops. Any operation this big will need a lot of troops. It will also take weeks to pull together. But most ECOWAS members are under-equipped. They're also impatient. Plus, they don't want to get caught in a drawn-out conflict. The third problem is Niger's coup leader, General Abdurrahmane Tiani. He has worked for the ECOWAS before. Tiani served as a battalion commander for ECOWAS peacekeepers, so he knows what an ECOWAS military intervention would look like. Chances are he will be prepared for it. And challenge number 4, this could destabilize the region. Any attack on Niger will destabilize the entire region. Let me pull up a map for you. The area highlighted is the Sahel region. It stretches from Senegal on the Atlantic coast to Eritrea on the Red Sea coast. Niger is located here. Now, the Sahel is not a very stable region to begin with. There are famines, terrorism, rebellions, and human trafficking. Plus, there's drugs and arms trade. So if a war breaks out, all hell breaks loose. There will be civilian casualties, hundreds of them. People will escape to the bordering states. There will be a huge influx of refugees and terror groups will take advantage, so terrorism will grow in the region. In short, the Sahel region will become more unstable. And this will spill over to the rest of Africa. So military intervention can have stark consequences. What are the other options? Well, the first one is a special forces operation. Basically, they won't send a full-fledged army, but a smaller force. They could also ask the US and French forces in Niger to help. Another option is aiding a counter-coup. Mohamed Bazoum won the 2021 election with 56% of the vote, so he may have some support left. Plus, there are divisions in the military too. They may not all be united behind the coup. Regional powers could exploit that. If nothing works, there's always sanctions. ECOWAS has taken a strong stance against Niger. They can still continue with the sanctions and call for a return to civilian rule. The junta says it is willing to discuss that, but they haven't mentioned any time frame. So the big question now is, what will ECOWAS do? Will they go to war or will they talk to the junta?
You will put in place a plan to ensure that the standby force is activated and that democracy will be restored in Niger. If presidential guards in Guinea and Niger, I'll use the word, take hostage their president, nobody, and let me repeat, nobody in West Africa is safe.
When the coup happened, ECOWAS had set a deadline for the junta: surrender or we will make you. Well, that deadline is long past. Now, if they do not go in, it will hurt their credibility. They have drawn a red line. They will have to find the political will and the means to honor it. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. The Indian Space Research Organization has released images of the moon captured by the Vikram lander. It is the last leg of its journey to the moon. The touchdown is expected on the 23rd of August. In Malaysia, a private plane came crashing down. 10 people have been killed, including all on board. But it's not all grim news. Here's something to cheer you up. In Bolivia, puppies donned a dapper look to receive blessings at a church. And finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1920, the US Congress ratified an amendment that granted women the right to vote. This milestone was achieved after decades of struggle and protests. With that, we call it a wrap. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sí, lo quiero ceder, pero si le suelto, por así es que va.
Los animales